Welcome to Transitioning Traditional Business to the Web. My name is Brian, and today's webinar is about wanting to provide a guide to those starting their research into getting a website. We also wanted to provide information when talking with a website design company and to help clarify the communication gap that sometimes exists between business owner and web developer. What we did is we broke it down into 3 areas: industry, audience, and brand. Let's start with industry. How does your industry operate or compete online? Now, every industry is going to be different, but all industries are going to have to deal with the technology that is out there. And the web is no longer just a desktop experience. You have the mobile experience now. And whether your website can compete on both desktop and mobile is really dependent on how it was developed. There are technologies now where your website can adapt to multiple devices just based off of one design. And that's probably the best way to approach having a website, is having what we call a responsive design. And because devices continually are being adapted and developed, from the iWatch to Google Glass to all the smartphones and mobile phones that are being developed, your website has to provide the same experience that it does on desktop that it does on mobile. So having a website that's flexible in design and layout is crucial to being able to compete within your industry. Now, what might be some of the limitations to operating online? Again, your industry is going to dictate that. Certain industries like real estate and the medical industry have certain restrictions and guidelines that they have to follow. The fashion industry, obviously you can't try on clothes online, so they have to find workarounds or offer a really great return policy just in case the chosen clothes do not fit. Now, what are some of the current trends that can be incorporated into web development? Well, technology continues to develop, and it develops at a much quicker pace than it has in most recent years. But industries and companies can take advantage of this technology. A website is no longer a static brochure online. It can be a fully interactive user experience. Restaurants placing orders and reservations online have that ability. Companies that have multiple locations can file share and allow employees in multiple locations to communicate and collaborate online. You no longer have to go to the box office to pick up tickets. You can register for your event online. Because we're all mobile now, location-based services are becoming a huge element to incorporate into your website. We all take advantage of it when we do a search on Google Maps, but other elements of typing in zip codes and being able to find a location, again, if you have multiple locations of your company, it's beneficial to be able to find those locations just by typing in the zip code. Personalization is a huge element to add to your website. Providing a membership access, maybe membership rewards to people that return and become a loyal customer. Personalizing the experience on your website is key to return business and offering the best experience possible through your website. And then the huge element of having a website is the automation. Being able to automate certain things that used to require manual updates, being able to refill stock or get an alert about low stock, and then automatically have an email sent to customers alerting them to when that product is going to be back in stock. Now, these are some of the trends that can be incorporated into a website, but one of the resources that I like to recommend is Google Trends. Again, it's a free resource, And what you can do is just by typing in certain keywords, you can see all the way back to 2004 and see what kind of trends may be transpiring in your industry, whether they're dropping off, whether there's a new trend growing. You can compare and contrast different trends just by typing in this information. And I think it's beneficial for all industries to be able to check that out. The second element that we wanted to talk about is audience. Where does your target market exist online? You have social networks, you have blogs, you have forums. All these areas where people can communicate and have conversations. Basically, these are elements that you can add to your website, incorporate into your website, and by extension, have a larger presence just by tying in the social networks, the forums, and other blogs within your website. Again, some people think the social networks are the end-all be-all of having a website, but really what happens is you're kind of reliant on those social networks. You also have restrictions. For us, we believe a social network can be an extension of your website. And because the social networks allow you to incorporate certain elements from their networks, you can actually extend the functionality of your website just by integrating certain elements from the social networks. Now, how do they prefer to communicate? Well, your audience has different preferences. You have the old standby of email, again, which is still a great way of keeping your customers alert about sales, any company events that are going on. Live chat is another element, kind of new, but it's a growing element that can help actually increase conversions of purchases just by having somebody kind of walk somebody through a process or be able to instantly have a question answered. Social media, again, can be a way of communicating. Twitter's been used as a viable channel to be able to communicate with customer service. Text is another element which really isn't something that you can add to your website, but it's another way of increasing contact or providing ways of contacting people. And then simply having the phone number, being able to click the call from your website. People still sometimes prefer a voice rather than an email. And then what media do they like to consume? Content marketing is a huge element of promotion online. And whether you do it through blogs, through video, through podcasts, or photographs, all this content is materials that can be added to your website and used to promote your website. And because the search engines crave content, the more content that you can provide them, whether it's through your website and whether it's on the social networks, this is content that can be used and reused to promote your business online. And one of the resources that I like to recommend in terms of how people use social networks, how they consume content, whether their buying habits are, is a site called eMarketer. And they provide very up-to-date information about statistics and shopping habits and technology trends that help or affect how business is done online. So eMarketer is a great resource that's updated pretty much on a daily basis, and it's great information for businesses to use to determine how to approach or how to effectively approach getting customers interested in the products and services that you have to offer. And then lastly, we have brand. Does a brand need to be established? Now, if you're a bricks and mortars business, obviously you probably have a logo, you have promotional content that supports that logo and brand. But what if you're just an online-only entity? You'll need to develop a brand, which usually starts with the logo, and develop a theme with that brand. And your website can be best approached by starting with the logo and developing a color scheme or a theme that you want to present. Some colors work better for some industries than other industries. So this is information that you can take and place within the website. Now, if you're a bricks and mortar, you probably have collateral material. So how much collateral material exists to support that brand? Probably have print, probably have images, you probably have documents that can be easily converted and uploaded and added to the website. The more content that you can have for your website, the better your website will be able to perform. The problem that we've run into somewhat frequently is when somebody launches a website, sometimes that information that needs to be within the website, the descriptive content, is not available. So you have kind of an empty shell of a website. The problem with that is search engines crave content, and really they can't determine what your website has to offer or what it's about if there's no content. The more content that you can have within your website, the better off and the better visibility that you'll get on the search engines. Now, it's still competitive, but because the search engines crave content, and not just static content, they crave continual content. So that's the reason of having social media and having a blog. The more content that you can provide the search engines, the better visibility you'll have online for your business. And then, is your brand adaptable to current design trends? Again, because your website is not just limited to the desktop anymore, it appears on pretty much any device that is internet enabled. Some of those very detailed, highly designed logos and brands may not be as presentable on a smaller scale. So being able to scale that brand, to adapt that brand to current design trends, is something to consider as well. Now, if you haven't, or if you don't have a brand yet, obviously those are some of the things that you can talk to the web design company and express your interest in. But if you have a brand, I think you have to be open to having that brand maybe be refreshed for current design trends. And one of the resources that I like to recommend for that is a site called Smashing Magazine. Smashing Magazine has information about design trends, not only for the designer, but for people looking for design inspiration and for layout inspiration. So in terms of finding what you're wanting your website to look like, in terms of layout, color scheme, design, brand elements, Smashing Magazine is a good resource to go with. And then lastly, I like to recommend our two resources. Our newsletter, the BV Buzz, which comes out monthly, and then the Banner blog, which has articles every week. We try to provide the most up-to-date information about web design trends, social media, SEO, pay-per-click advertising, anything that has to do with doing business online. We try to provide the most up-to-date information about our industry, so we can have better customers and have more successful customers be able to compete online within the industry that they operate. So I want to thank everyone for attending the webinar. Again, my name's Brian. If you have any questions about any of the information presented, feel free to drop me an email at bmail@BannerView.com. I'm also on any of the social networks. Again, thanks for attending the webinar, and good luck with your website.